Hey, I'm Krista Makes. You might know me from the band Less Than Jake, and I'm here to tell you about Krista Makes a Podcast. Each week on the show, I bring on an amazing guest from the world of music to break down the writing, recording, and release of one iconic song from their back catalog. Whether you're a songwriter yourself or just a lover of music in general, this show is for you. You can check out Krista Makes a Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and new episodes come out every Monday.
Craving your next action-packed adventure? Audible delivers thrills of every kind on your command, like Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, where a lone astronaut must save humanity from extinction, narrated with stunning intensity by Ray Porter. From electrifying suspense and daring quest to spine-tingling horror and romance in far-off realms, unleash your adventurous side with gripping titles that'll keep you guessing. Discover exclusive Audible originals, hotly anticipated new releases, and must-listen bestsellers that hook you from the first minute. Because Audible knows there's no greater thrill than the one that speaks to you. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat. Start your free 30-day trial at audible.com/WonderyUS. That's audible.com/WonderyUS.
Josh Arnold, investment consultant, brings you Garage Logic podcast number 1562, June 12, 2025. Boy, we're still on that 1956 hot streak. 95 on this day in 1956 and 39 degrees on this day in 1877. Call Josh Arnold at 952-925-5608 for a free 48-minute consultation.
Hail the flashlight king.
Hail you! And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Haidt in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Soucheray.
Charles writes that he saw Rook at the airport. They were travelers returning to Philadelphia, and he thanked us for listening, which was very nice. My wife asked me, he really works here? I thought that was a bit. I said, you mean like
they
how
do
Joe,
too.
You mean how like Joe's a mayor? I see your point. She watched Rookie for a minute, shrugged, and said, well, I suppose, I don't know. I think he's working.
I was supervising.
I'm going to defend my guy. I have seen him in action, telling people where to go.
And I have some clarification from an emailer on the No Kings protest, which will be held all over the country Saturday, which, by the way, is Flag Day in the United States. Joe, I think you mischaracterized the No Kings protest Saturday as a protest against the current kerfuffle in Los Angeles. Though that may be a hot issue, it does not reflect the broader scope of the protest. Various organizations have worked together since the early days of the Trump administration to organize protests against a wide variety of illegal actions by Trump. His loss rate in the courts when challenged supports that point. In close association, some of these groups are 50501, Indivisible, and Hands Off. Every one of these organizations repeatedly call for nonviolent protests and also provide online training for de-escalation. They also tell followers not to wear masks at protests and to have their cameras out to record any issues that may arise. In a recent email, Hands Off told its people that if the people at the rally start to act up and agitate for violence, either to remove themselves from the vicinity of the agitators. If they are unable to do that, sit down in order for law enforcement to identify the troublemakers. I have participated in several protests in Chaska near Tom Evers' office. I estimate that 70% of the participants are over the age of 50. Topics of concern are wide-ranging and not limited to immigration. Unfortunately, that issue is drowning out our concerns. Our organizers continue to cooperate with local law enforcement and local officials. Okay, that's from Steve Peterson. Thank you.
I thought we made all of that clear yesterday, did we not?
I thought I said none of these groups appear to be calling for violence.
And it's pretty clear when you go on the No Kings website, nokings.org, that this is a Trump thing.
But it's also clear that the biggest issue in the country right now is the immigration issue.
Yep.
So I did some homework this morning. Why, in fact, are there even sanctuary cities?
Good question. Why didn't we ask that years ago? That's a great question.
It started in the early 80s with churches, and this is what churches do, welcoming maybe a family or two into the fold.
Sure.
Who were here without aid or had not become citizens.
Pass the tray, help them out.
Yep.
We've got a place to put them, got some food, and make some clothes for them.
And it continued to grow and grow. And then as the mystery took over, the governments decided to get involved as opposed to the churches. And what the governments have done, and the closer you get to the country's tallest buildings, is piggyback on that, the way it originally started with churches, and decided that our city is going to be welcoming. And they've dreamed up all kinds of ways to justify it. For example, sanctuary cities are thought to be beneficial, this is their words, to law enforcement. For this reason, they think without being a sanctuary city, pressure could be put on illegals to leave and to not deport when they could be just as easily witnesses to crime if they have the fear of not being deported. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So they're saying that that various thugs in town, if without sanctuary status, could put the arm on illegals to say, if you testify in the trial, well, we're make sure you're going to get deported. So that's one excuse the sanctuary cities have come up with, and there are others. I don't know if that holds a great deal of validity, but they're all in defiance of federal law. No matter how many cities create sanctuary status, that in and of itself is in defiance of federal law. And I've been working on the theory this week that what's up for grabs in this country is the law. Mm-hmm. If the law is merely negotiable, if Jacob Fry and the City Council of Minneapolis say, we're a sanctuary city, we know that's in defiance of federal law, but we think our reasons for it are justified. Well, now you're negotiating what the law is. If you negotiate what the law is, what else are you negotiating?
You shouldn't have to negotiate.
You're negotiating citizenship, nationality. You're negotiating the very existence of your country. And that, in my estimation, that's what's happening. I'm not in denial of helping somebody.
Right.
That's not what this is about. This is about the self-appointed activists who are now on city councils and in mayor's offices have taken this matter into their hands. There's been no consent of the public. Did you ever have a vote on whether to be a sanctuary city or not?
Never.
No.
Nope.
So now you're a sanctuary city, and it's costing the taxpayers money to fulfill the virtue signaling of the activists who run the city councils in the mayor's office. It has nothing to do with following the law. If cities in this country followed the law, or somehow this was able to be kept within the boundaries of the church, no matter what faith, then that's one thing. The churches they got a special hands-off policy. But once it becomes the purview of the public and the city says we're a sanctuary city, that's where the trouble began, because now you're against the law. So now you get and Biden had no interest in enforcing the law. So now you get a guy like Trump who has an interest in enforcing the law. So he enforces the law. And there's one factor we haven't discussed. We're so unaccustomed to seeing the law enforced in this country. over the last many years that people are standing back and saying, "What is this? This is horrible.
Yeah.
This is militarization. This
What
is
does he think he's
authoritarianism.
doing? He's no king."
This is a king. No, you're seeing the law enforced.
Right.
And we're so unaccustomed to it that it's been driving people crazy, and we're delivering bricks to be thrown and gas masks to be worn, and we're going to defy curfews. And we're not accustomed to this. We've grown accustomed to the laws being negotiable because we're governed by idiots.
There was go ahead.
Has any state, city taken the time to actually get the law changed as opposed to just flaunting it?
I do not think so. Nor could I find any city that surrendered its status as a sanctuary city. In other words, decide to uphold the law.
Right.
Now, Cockwomble is in Washington, and he's being addressed about this very thing. And I heard audio of it. I don't know if you have any, of Cockwomble testifying today.
I didn't even know he was there, Joe.
Yeah, he's testifying today about
God forbid he was here.
About the status of sanctuary. Now, Minnesota is not a sanctuary state, I would say, much to his disappointment, and I'm shocked we're not. But Minneapolis and St. Paul are sanctuary cities.
Yeah.
I have the interaction between Governor Walz and Tom Emmer, if that's what you're looking for.
No, I mean, Emmer's going to be okay, try it. Let's see what we get.
Okay, I didn't want to interrupt your thought.
Let's see what we get.
Work with law enforcement to enforce the law. In May 2020, looting, acts of violence, and arson occurred on your watch in Minneapolis after you refused to bring in the National Guard. Governor, your agenda is clear. Free health care, free college and driver's licenses for illegals while handcuffing law enforcement when they're trying to protect our citizens and their communities. If you think that's not a sanctuary state, you shouldn't be governor. By turning Minnesota into a magnet for illegals, you have opened up our communities to dangerous criminals, including known terrorists, gang members, murderers, and child predators. You have sent a resounding message that if you're a hardworking, law-abiding citizen of Minnesota, your safety and well-being are not the priorities of Tim Walz and his administration. But if you're coming to our state illegally, you're not only welcome with open arms, you're entitled to free stuff on the taxpayer's dime. This is absolutely disgraceful. Governor Walz, your sanctuary state agenda has been defined by your utter failure. You have failed to enforce the rule of law. You have failed to uphold our national sovereignty. And most importantly, you have failed the people of Minnesota. The time for radical sanctuary state policy, sir, is over. The voters made that clear last November when they elected President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. You remember him, don't you? Governor, the time for real leaders and real leadership is now. And with that, sir, actually, Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to introduce into the record the governor's tweet that I referenced from May 23rd, 2018, which makes it clear his hatred for federal law enforcement. Thank you.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Chair recognizes Mr. Mfume.
Do we have Walz's response?
I'll try to dig that up, but that was really good.
Yeah. Who was that?
That was Tom Emmer.
Oh, he was on fire.
Because I heard audio from Walz today saying, "But these are our neighbors." That is, again, Walz letting his ideology slip. His ideology is that the illegals are as much our neighbors as anyone else.
Joe, I found an answer to my question. Several cities, particularly those with sanctuary policies, have filed lawsuits against the federal government. There's a whole list of them here. So, there are cities that are taking on the government over this issue.
You know, the illegals come here because they're fleeing countries where the governments have failed them, which is exactly what's happening here. You've got people fleeing to the United States because they're leaving such corrupt, inattentive, incompetent governments, only to come here and discover they're on the ground floor of witnessing the United States being governed by incompetent people. What have you found?
While you've convened this hearing to explore the issue of so-called sanctuary states, Minnesota is not even a sanctuary state. Minnesota legislature has passed no such bill making Minnesota a sanctuary state, and I have signed no such law. Minnesota cooperates with federal authorities in a number of ways. When there's a convicted felon in our prisons, we ask about their immigration status and share that information with the Department of Homeland Security. We also cooperate with Homeland Security requests when there's a judicial warrant and when due process has been afforded by our Constitution has been served. But enforcing immigration law is not the role of local and state governments. The fact is, Congress has given federal...
It's the role of immigration enforcement, customs enforcement, which the cities of St. Paul and Minneapolis have forbidden their law enforcement
have said they're not going to cooperate with.
I'll pick it up again.
Correct.
Isn't it interesting? Wait, Chris, how he dances around the truth, saying Minnesota. He's right. Minnesota is not a sanctuary state, but you haven't done anything to change anything.
Looks like one and quacks like one.
But
thank you.
Lo and behold, Minneapolis and St. Paul are both sanctuary cities.
Right. By the way, Walz is the only guy I know who speaks faster than you do.
Oh, Chris,
well, congratulations.
That was a shot across the bow.
No, I actually, you know what? I'm going to pull a rookie. Thank you, Joe.
You got a little gunpowder on your forehead as that one went by.
I've been going to the Rookie School of Broadcasting for 20 years now.
Thanks,
it up
Joe. Again.
Of local and state governments. The fact is, Congress has given federal agencies the authority to enforce immigration laws across this country. That includes Minnesota, and I support them doing so.
It doesn't
it's
in
the
the Twin
federal
Cities,
government's
you
job
moron!
to secure the border. That's why when I was in Congress, I visited the southern border and voted for bills that would have increased funding for Border Patrol, made it easier to hire qualified agents, and deployed advanced technologies to the border. Most importantly, I recognize that securing our border does not mean we sacrifice our constitutional values. Unfortunately, the cruel and misguided policies of this current administration fail to live up to those values. Minnesotans are angry with what they've seen happen to their neighbors. They're angry that the federal government has been snatching people up, putting them in prison, and deporting them without a shred of due process.
Can I, on behalf of the Garage Logic news team here in the background, I have to do this.
We don't.
The police departments in St. Paul and Minneapolis are ordered by ordinance or law to not aid ICE. So Walz is conveniently not saying that.
Right, he's leaving that part out.
Yeah. And this protest, this so-called Back to the King, No Kings protest Saturday, yes, it may not be about immigration, but 5 will get you 10. That's what it will become.
Mm-hmm. Never
and
mind.
That's what it's going to become all over the country.
Just like the one where we busted, what was it, 900 pounds of meth? And they all thought it was about immigration?
Yeah.
Reavers, we call that almost half a ton.
Yeah.
Almost half a ton.
So I've been so busy Googling while all of this has been going on, and I decided to address why and how it's so easy for Somalians to end up in Minnesota. They can immigrate through either refuge or immigrant visa programs. However, they can enter the U.S. through, hold on, let me start over. Refugees are those who have been displaced due to persecution or conflict, and here's the line, and are granted asylum or refugee status. Mm-hmm. That's how they end up in over on the West Bank.
Wow. We have a terrible immigration problem on Martha's Vineyard. I just wanted you guys to know.
What?
Oh, no.
Really? What?
No.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, the people on Martha's Vineyard are unhappy with Trump deporting illegal immigrants. I suppose they're
tending to the gardens.
Yeah.
Right.
We brought this up a couple of weeks ago, Joe. Some of the bigger farming operations, turkey farms, food, cattle lots.
This is dated yesterday. The community has been reeling since immigration and customs enforcement officers arrested dozens of illegal immigrants in a recent raid. It's bullying, one Martha's Vineyard resident, Charlie Giordano, told the New York Post. I don't know how many are illegal or legal. I don't give a bleep, but I do care how they're treated. I don't know that he can offer any evidence that they were
What he
poorly
cares
treated.
about. Can I translate that
I'm
for
sure
you?
it was not the New York Post. It was the Washington Post. Yes.
Joe, what he really means is I would rather pay this illegal $10 an hour than pay an American $25 an hour. That's what he's really
Fact
saying.
check, right.
Yeah.
Because was it Worthington or is it Nobles County? Weren't they on the list of the counties we rattled off?
I think Worthington is the turkey capital
Yeah.
of Minnesota, so that would make sense.
I've been to Martha's Vineyard.
Is it lovely?
It is. This is ridiculous.
For a gardening job?
Well,
or?
what we're learning here is the arrest hit a nerve in the liberal enclave known for welcoming everyone. You want to bet?
Now, in your case,
You want to bet?
Joe, in your case, was it a day pass and you had to get out of there
Right.
before the sun set?
Gotta catch the ferry.
When you were at Martha's Vineyard, did you go, hey, buddy, you live around here?
Yeah, hey, I don't live around here.
The arrest hit a nerve on the island. It's you have Barack Obama, of course, has his oceanfront property there, even though the oceans are going to rise, according to him. And you've got LGBTQ plus activists, you've got racial minority celebrities, and a large cluster of immigrants from Brazil. This is according to the Washington Post. One Brazilian resident who admitted to the Post that he is undocumented warned that the local economy will crater because of the arrests and deportations. The anonymous man who owns 3 businesses in Martha's Vineyard, he's undocumented, he owns 3 businesses, said the money is just going to stop flowing. The U.S. is only losing if they push us out. The island has been a safe haven for illegals from Brazil in recent decades as they fled their home country due to hyperinflation and other economic problems. According to the outlet, many came over on work or tourist visas but ended up staying. The Post reported that these immigrants established businesses offering food and cleaning services that are now crucial to daily life in a resort town because, God forbid, Mrs. Haverkamp has to sweep her own floor. Today, there are a few restaurant menus here that don't offer Brazilian-inspired options like croquettes or traditional cheesy bread. Well, for Christ's sake, if you can't get cheesy bread...
I know.
Just like
You want to go?
Go where?
So the Portuguese language is common within the community. An anonymous Brazilian woman. The Washington Post is careful to give these people anonymity. An anonymous Brazilian woman who owns a business and has raised 3 children on the island said, the American people love us because we work hard to help the community prosper and grow. This was a safe place, she added. Well, I would imagine Martha's Vineyard has made itself a sanctuary town or village or whatever it is.
We need to look into the process of becoming a naturalized citizen. See what that's all about. Is it so difficult that they can't do it? Why are they staying illegal? You know what I mean?
Probably because it's just easier.
I mean, that last quote you gave, that wasn't wrong.
No.
They are fantastic. And they work their asses off. And I knew a bunch of them, and they were awesome. Why can't we make them? Why can't they go through the process? Why can't they become citizens?
I don't know.
How big is a yard, Joe?
Yeah, right.
That's all you're thinking about anyway. Let's just get it out in the open.
A big old scoop shovel.
I got a mountain. I have 2 mountains.
Twin Peaks.
I have the Twin Peaks of mulch.
Tourists are coming by to take photos with it.
Yeah, I can link this to immigration. Because the guy I normally use to do such things was having trouble getting his workers.
Okay.
So, and he shot me a price that I thought was way too high. But from the bill, what do you call the thing?
An invoice.
No.
It was, I was going to say an appraisal, but yeah, a quote.
The quote,
yeah.
Okay.
He said, 45 yards of mulch and this and that. Well, try to get my guys there when I can. And it was a price I didn't want to pay. And I said, well, for God's sakes, how much can mulch be? So I put the CP on it. And we just used what it was on his quote.
She had 45 different.
We need 45 yards of mulch.
Okay.
2 trucks the size of Duluth showed up. They dumped mulch at one end of the yard and on the end of the driveway. Can't get a car out. Had to go around and run over the hostas. The damn mountain, the mountain of mulch is just incredible. So I put out an email blast to the neighbors. Come and get it, free mulch. They've been lining up with their wheelbarrows. That isn't making a dent in it.
How's the stink?
Oh, I think it has manure in it.
Are you going to be like Gwen Walz and sleep with the windows open at night so you can smell the mulch?
No, I close the windows because of smelling the mulch.
I might stop by and load up.
So I got 3 high school kids doing it, my grandkid and a couple of his buddies. And they're doing the best they can.
So is this a PSA? Are you putting this out for jailers to swing by?
No.
Yeah, over there on 5th.
No, we'll end up...
Stop over there on 5th.
It's the damnedest thing you've ever seen.
What I've taken away from this, and I am so ashamed about this, is I have no idea how much. I know a yard is 3 feet.
3 feet. Now, what's it 3 feet by? I don't
3
know.
feet.
Right.
But I have enough to do about a third of a mile.
So I've ordered many, many times in the past. I've ordered gravel for the driveway.
Yep.
And they always ask
that
me,
come
how
in
many
yards?
yards?
Yeah.
How many yards you want? And I say, are you bringing a belly dumper or are you bringing a dump truck?
Yeah.
If it's a dump truck, I want 4 loads. If it's a belly dumper, I want 2 belly dumpers. That's how I do it. I have no idea what a yard is.
What do you do with all the pellets?
If I did this again, I would order half this much mulch.
Okay.
So it's a learning process.
How many years? A couple of years? Is it 2 years? What do you do for mulch?
I don't know.
Do you have an invoice?
And
does the
for the
invoice?
mulch?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Keep that invoice, circle the yards, and then write a note on it and put it on the fridge. That's how I do it.
I don't need a note. I'll never forget this.
Order half.
Yes.
You know what?
Half.
Next time I order gravel, I'm going to have you do it for me.
Yeah, I'll never.
I'll
never make this
The
mistake
CP
again.
needs to order gravel for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was her project
Of course.
that she watches from the window? Say, I'm here. I'm here for you.
Yeah, put those glasses on.
Bradshaw and Bryant, personal injury attorneys, are here for you. If you're like me and other people, you might not know what to do if you're ever injured in an accident. Insurance companies can be difficult to work with. Bradshaw and Bryant are the team you need to explain your rights and represent you and help you through the tough times. For 6 consecutive years, Mike Bryant has been recognized as a super lawyer and has been named among Minnesota's top 40 personal injury lawyers by Minnesota Law and Politics. I happen to know that's the Bible for such awards. Bradshaw and Bryant hopes you're never in an accident, but if you are, call them. Call Bradshaw and Bryant at 800-770-7008 or go to minnesotapersonalinjury.com. That case evaluation, of course, is free. And Bradshaw and Bryant does not want you to be part of the problem. Don't text and drive or drive distracted. That's just common sense from Bradshaw and Bryant.
Reavers here once again for my guy, Mr. Money Talk, Josh Arnold. Does thinking about retirement make you uncomfortable? Well, sometimes the anxiety from wondering if you've saved enough can be overwhelming. But what if I told you that you could ease those tensions in just 48 minutes? Well, Mr. Money Talk is going to be able to sit down with you and get you on the right track for your financial future. Josh has navigated it all when it comes to uncertain market and economic conditions, and he'll always provide straight talk, never sugar-coated advice on how to reach the finish line with your retirement goals. Don't let your financial worries give you an ulcer or keep you from calling Josh right now. His 48-minute, no-obligation consultation could be just what you need to feel better about your future. Call Josh today at 952-925-5608 and set up your free 48-minute, no-obligation consultation. That's 952-925-5608.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser.
The earth is not your mother. The Joe Souchere Show.
Oh, I am bringing the positive today. It's Positive Thursday, brought to us by Schoonover Body Works and Auto Care. They're in Shoreview, 1060 County Road E. Mike Schoonover, not with us today, but he sent me an email that he received from a GLer last month. This email is so neat and so awesome. I actually printed it out. It's written perfectly in business letter form with proper punctuation and spacing and headings. And I'm just so impressed with it. It's from Steve in Coon Rapids. And Steve, you are the man. Anyway, here it goes. I'm a longtime listener of GL and have heard the spots regarding Schoonover and the wonderful work they do with Play for Patrick. We recently purchased a brand new 2025 car, and we were looking to have the 3M protective film installed. After hearing the ads on GL, I called your shop. I had a few conversations with Tom regarding the product, installation, and advantages to having this protection added to our vehicle. He was very knowledgeable, honest, and professional. Exceptional service all around. We are extremely happy with our choice to use Schoonover to have this work done. The ads on GL do not lie. Knowledgeable staff, great location and facility, excellent workmanship, and outstanding customer service. We will spread the word and be back to Schoonover for future vehicle service body work. That's from Tom in Coon Rapids. Tom, thank you very much for that email to Mike. And that's just one of the many reasons why Schoonover Body Works is GL's official body shop. I should say Schoonover Body Works and Auto Care. They've been at it since 1938, always rated as one of the top shops in the metro. The best in the biz, if you ask us. SchoonoverBodyWorks.com.
We have a long-time listener and a garage logician who lives in the belly of the beast in Minneapolis. Shoot, I had two emails to that regard. Well, I'll find the other one. This was from Steve Mulholland, and he said, as I was settling in for a pleasant summer evening, it was written yesterday, I made the mistake of opening my Evening Star Tribune email newsletter and found these two stories listed back to back. Number one, hundreds had ties to Feeding Our Future. Many may not face charges. That's on the front page of the printed paper today. There are so many fraudsters that the authorities do not have the resources to charge them all. And number two, Steve read, federal charges suggest ties between recent shootings outside Twin Cities high school grad ceremonies. They're all Somalis. The first item detailed how the Feeding Our Future fraud case is so far-reaching that Minnesota's interim top federal prosecutor, Joe Thompson, said they don't have enough staff to handle the more than 200 cases, predicting that many of those charged will not be prosecuted. Keep in mind, this is the feds, not the state. The second story described how one of the shooters involved in the Wayzata graduation ceremony was not only tied to the Burnsville graduation shooting, but was also stopped by coppers, thankfully, as he was on his way to the Edina graduation at Mariucci on June 3rd last Tuesday.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Jesus.
Hamza A. Saeed was packing a Glock 9mm semi-automatic pistol equipped with a high-capacity extended magazine and a machine gun conversion device known as a switch. I am particularly grateful for the police intervention as I was at Mariucci that night with my family to see my niece graduate from Edina.
Oh, wow.
My point in bringing all this up is, when is enough going to be enough? We need to face the reality that these crimes of varying varieties are coming from one particular group within the community. They really are, and I agree. When's enough enough? And yes, and we always have to say this, and he's saying it. And yes, there are scores of fine people from said group, but this is the proverbial elephant in the room. It's like trying to walk on eggshells. He's mixing his metaphors there, isn't he? This group has the Somalis he's talking about. This group has a disproportionately large number of individuals who are choosing to be lawbreakers and put people in danger. And I'm tired of worrying I'll be labeled as a racist for wanting them or anyone, regardless of race, who is breaking the law, to be arrested, prosecuted, and put away. How does this stop? I am seriously asking the question. It's a great question. It needs to be asked. It needs to be put to a stop. Minneapolis might be the capital of Somalia.
We actually have the highest density in population in the country for Somalians.
And Scott Matura is out in Montana, and he has some points that are germane. Last Friday, there was a lot of conversation as to the entitlement, expectations, hubris, and crime entrenched in the Somali community. You also made reference to the lack of these traits in the Hmong community. I have distinct memories of the 4th and 5th grade growing up in the Como neighborhood and seeing the arrival of refugees from the aftermath of the Vietnam War. St. Paul, Minnesota, and Oklahoma City, Oklahoma saw influxes of Lao, Hmong, Cambodians, and Vietnamese. I also distinctly remember the community chatter from adults being none too pleased with these refugees. They settled into the Como area, Rice Street, East Side, University, Midway, Frogtown. Imagine the native St. Paulites being resistant to migrants surviving a real ugly war. But what did these refugees do? They assimilated. Was there some Asian gang activity? Sure, but it was small and easily manageable. But here's what else they did. They opened businesses, built Catholic churches, learned English, turned ugly fields into gardens along Larpenteur Avenue, put their children in school, got productive jobs and paid taxes, became police officers, etc., etc., etc.
And as students excelled.
And most of all, they were excited to become U.S. citizens. I know because I worked at Four Paws in Irving Park, and we employed all of these groups. We formed strong bonds, had a great working environment. In our breaks, we would quiz them for their citizenship tests. It actually makes me a bit emotional recalling these fond memories with the most wonderful people. Fast forward, enter the Somali refugees. While one could argue the need for the U.S. to take in thousands of these Somali refugees is debatable relative to Vietnam War refugees, nevertheless, they arrived. Their arrival marked what would become both a sea change to a once great city as well as a people and culture that did the exact opposite of the aforementioned refugees. Wrought with crime, entitlement, crime, organized and spontaneous, attitude, arrogance, and an inherent myopic view to the point of offense. You have reached the point of no return, he means Minnesota. For example, and this is my favorite line he wrote, name an Asian restaurant where all Democratic candidates have to filter through. Remember we got that in Feeding Our Future?
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah. We have to go through the Somali restaurant.
Right.
Yeah.
My memories there in the 90s where they may as well have built a wall around their Minneapolis neighborhoods, wanting nothing to do with the very city that took them in. The fact that the citizens of the Twin Cities are increasingly welcoming as they control more and more of the city tells me only one thing. They are victims of being bullied, plain and simple. He means the native residents of the city are being bullied. The idea that they are Minnesota nice is a cop-out response to the fact that, not necessarily unrelated with respect to ethnicity, has happened in Sweden with the Muslim nation. It is beyond repair. The trajectory of the organized crime and feral youth crime that local politicians allow and, let's be honest, encourage is pathetic and has routinely made it to the national stage. They used to say the capital of Ireland was Liverpool and the capital of Algeria was Marseille. Well, the capital of Somalia is Minneapolis.
Yeah, the West Bank.
I can't take issue with that. I can't take issue with that.
A couple of weeks ago, I went down the rabbit hole with Somalia and Somaliland in Africa, and evidently they are two drastically different areas, with Somaliland being the northern part and being a wonderful, wonderful place to live. Somalia, the southern border, and by the way, if I remember right, Somaliland is not recognized by Somalia. Somalia, on the other hand, run by pirates and criminals. And I think the problem here, and this is my opinion without studying the matter deeper, there's no screening process. So Ma and Pa Kettle from Somalia, good, hardworking people, come over here to get away from the pirates and the bad guys and the criminals. But then the pirates and the bad guys and the criminals also come over And now they're living with the same thing the native Minnesotans are living with, this crime wave.
There's another problem. The activist class that the American citizen has allowed to take over politics is notorious for treating people of color as less than. Which is criminal. Well, the example is we're seeing it in the failed academy. You don't have to take that test. You're a black kid.
You don't have to obey the law.
You don't have to obey the law. You've been victimized all your life. You're suffering from oppression. It's the same with the Somalis. The Somalis arrive in Minneapolis, and rather than meet a series of reasonable expectations, citizenship, assimilation, join the party, we certainly understand that you don't want anything to do with that because we're white people and we've been oppressive and our country's unfair and we think you should be able to do whatever you want. So there's been no expectations. No expectations whatsoever. The result of that has been this insidious ideology of treating certain people by not expecting anything of them because you've got yourselves convinced that to expect anything of them would be an example of oppression.
Racism. Yeah, you're right.
And racism.
Yep.
So therefore, no. Food fraud went unchecked for a long time. Why? Well,
just trust them. They'll be okay.
Less than.
I wonder
we
if
believe in our neighbors.
The supporters, the Democratic liberal supporters of all of this, do they live among them? Do they live anywhere, Cedar, Riverside, West Bank, Lake Street, Franklin, between Cedar and the river? Or do they live out in Minnetonka, Edina?
I would say
Inver Grove. Where are these people from?
I think there's an interesting way to answer that. I think Minneapolis residents and Somalis do live amongst each other, but the closer you get to the tall buildings of Minneapolis, the more likely the residents of Minneapolis are still prone to vote for the Jason Chavezes and the Ahadi Shagati and the Robin Wamsley and the rest of them, who are examples of people who treat people less than, and they put up with it because they also have been, what's the word? They haven't been brainwashed, but they have adopted the theory that this is the United States is a great big unfair place, and we're electing people who are going to put that straight. We're electing the people who are going to correct that.
Our guy in Montana briefly mentioned Sweden and what's happened there. It's also happened in Denmark and France. I wonder if any of these citizens of Minneapolis have bothered to do a global study the way he had. I wonder if they're aware of what's going on the European continent.
I'm glad you brought that up. Can I tell you something?
Bringing that up.
Can I tell you something real quick?
Yeah.
A Nigerian bishop has been threatened in his home village and murderously attacked after he appealed to lawmakers at a March congressional hearing for the killing of Christians to stop. Bishop Wilford Anagbi told Fox News Digital in an exclusive interview this week that after he went to Washington to testify, 4 fatal attacks in 10 days by terrorist jihadists had happened in his diocese, the area he is responsible for. Nigeria is one of the most dangerous places in the world to be a Christian, according to NGO Open Door International's 2025 World Watch List. Of the 4,476 Christians killed worldwide in the latest reporting period, 31 of those who died, 69%, were from Nigeria. Jihadist violence continues to escalate in Nigeria, and Christians are at particular risk from targeted attacks by Islamic militant groups, including Fulani militants, Boko Haram, and ISWAP, Islamic State West Africa Province. And this bishop, who leads one of the biggest churches in Africa's most populous nation, used the synonym Pastor Winnie Attaby because he's worried about his safety. It's been attack upon attack, religious violence, and we say this because the communities that are attacked are Christian communities. What the Islamist militants want is to be sure that Islam takes over every part of these places. And so they're doing everything to make sure that Christianity is brought down and Islam is established as number one. They want to make sure that Sharia law has taken over Nigeria.
Mm-hmm. This is the religious war, and it's been going on for a long, long time. I mean, think back way back to Salman Rushdie. It's been going on a long time.
And the typical Minnesota attitude is one of complete idiocy.
Yeah, unstudied dum-dums.
Complete idiocy.
Just read a newspaper, the world section. I had a good friend, I shouldn't say, I had a good acquaintance in South Minneapolis, Ben from Denmark, the most liberal guy I have ever met in my life, fun to argue politics with. And he came from Denmark, and he warned us all about this and what was going on and how his home country had been ruined. He's a citizen of the United States now, obviously, for years.
Here I found it. I don't have a name, but it's written by former Ward 9 garage logician.
Okay.
Joe, I lived in Ward 9 for 15 years until several of the homes in our area, including mine, were damaged or destroyed by fire started by criminals. The criminals would terrorize our neighborhood from their bases of operation, the homeless camps. Through personal discussions I and others had, Chavez and Fry were both personally made aware of the situation. We specifically contacted them and described our fears of crime and tragedy happening in the years and months before, during, and after they happened. Fry and Chavez proceeded to continue their support for the criminal encampments and advocated policies that enabled and empowered the destruction. Fry at most rode the fence about addressing problems of crime, drug traffic and addiction, and human traffic in the area. Walz's executive order making the encampments legal during COVID didn't help much either. I now live in a small town on the outskirts of the metro. Thank God I survived the fire. By the way, River Lake True Value was a great hardware store on Lake Street that got closed down. The last great one in my area was family-owned Wellna Ace on Bloomington and 24th. And
good one, yeah.
And you tell me there's a frat still operating.
Yeah, on Lake Street.
The hardest part about electing a garage logician to Javis Chavez council seat is not the belief systems of the candidate. It's organizing and navigating the bureaucratic election process and finding someone willing to discard their current life and devote it to being in the city government. Mysterians have time on their hands for this endeavor, while garage logicians are busy at the hardware store. Most of the election campaigns lack substance and debate of issues, and it is my understanding that the voting population is a small percent of the population. The Get Out the Vote groups, led by Mysterians and the mob, methodically enable specific, predetermined groups of voters who've been selected from among easily indoctrinated blocks.
There
you have it.
Good email. Yep.
Did what he had to do. He voted with his feet. He's gone.
Yep.
How many of you Minneapolis people will have to leave before you see the light?
All those people, I'd love, I brought it up earlier, where are they from? I'd love if they all moved to Ward 9 and went through what that emailer had to live through.
I think this guy makes an important point. There are GLers in Ward 9.
Yep. Or there were.
There aren't enough, though.
There's Steve in the belly of the beast. The mink is in Minneapolis. There are GLers in Minneapolis, but they don't have a shot. They're overwhelmed. But the last part of his letter is the most important. It's the election process that is so predisposed to making sure that another Democratic socialist is elected. And they don't need much. You just have to target a few specific blocks, BLOCS, of people, and you've got her nailed. You'll send the next Robin Walmsley to the city council, which is why I'm giving up on you. I'll have to do it myself. I have to get I know I've said this 100 times.
I'll give you both email addresses if you'd like.
Yeah, well, that isn't working.
You're right.
So I'll do it a different way.
Okay.
I want one of them in here, Jason Chavez. I'll take any council member except Michael Rainville because I don't think he's insane. I want to know what is your end game? What country do you envision? I really want to hear it. And I'm prepared to be civil listening to it.
Do you think Latricia...
I don't want to hear from Latricia either because she's sane.
Right, and it might put her on the outs with the rest of the council members.
Right. I need the likes of Jason Chavez to describe to me, all right, you're going to keep winning. You've got this all figured out. You're in office. What do you want? What the hell do you want?
You know what I want?
Well, wait a minute, Chris. Wasn't it Jason who a few months ago said he doesn't care what his voters want? He's pushing this through. What was that in regards to? You remember it, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. He out and out said, I don't care what you want. I'm going to make this happen.
Was it the contracts for violence interrupters?
Maybe. I don't remember.
That's ringing a bell. I can't pinpoint it, though.
The word democracy, which is getting overused, but basically it means the same as republic. We're a constitutional republic, meaning we're based on rules of law and what have you. But they only can be put in place by the consent of the governed. Too much is being done without our consent. For example, getting back to sanctuary cities, did Minneapolis voters have a say in Minneapolis becoming a sanctuary city?
They did not.
They are governed without their consent.
Every day when we're talking about this, I'm asking myself the same question. What the hell does this have to do with we the people?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not we the people. It's some of us the people.
Well, it still might be we the people in Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls, South Dakota. If you're a business person, you're planning to expand, maybe start a new business, maybe move your business, Sioux Falls wants to have your attention. South Dakota is a very business-friendly state, and Sioux Falls has a large and well-educated workforce. The cost of living is low. It's a great central location. And the cost of doing business is amazing. There is no corporate or state or personal. No, there's no personal, corporate, or state income taxes. Empower votes at the most number one affordable city in the country. Forbes magazine calls Sioux Falls the best small city for businesses and careers. We're showing a video right now of another industrial, but an old church in the background. Look at the old church.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. The whole thing is gorgeous.
Look at that crane.
The attitude is gorgeous. Check it out. That's a gorgeous crane.
Good crane.
It's
Got
a hell of a
sturdy crane.
That's a nice crane.
Look at that thing.
Check it out at Sioux Falls Development. That's one word, SiouxFallsDevelopment.com.
You cannot stop him. He'll just make a move. Joe Souchere.
Big debate going on in the old duder's brain right now about next Friday. So next Friday, we're going to be at the Back to the 50s car show, right? Well, the day after, Saturday, Ryan Newman, NASCAR driver, is going to be at Cedar Lake Speedway.
Shut up.
But he's also going to be on Friday night, the night of the 50s show, at one of my racetracks up here. What do? Do I stay down there? Do I see him at Cedar Lake Speedway, my favorite track in the whole wide world, or do I come up here? I don't know. I'm
Go to Cedar Lake Speedway. You're closer.
I think so. And I'm already going to get a hotel, so I'll be in the area. This is my way of saying I love Cedar Lake Speedway, and GLers, I think you will too.
We're going to be there.
Yeah, if you'll join us at this big party. It's July 12th, Saturday night, at Cedar Lake Speedway, and it starts in the middle of the day with an old British car show. We're going to have a bunch of guys have already committed to showing up and showing us their rides, including Joe. So that'll be fun. But we want all you, and it's free of charge. So come as you are and have some fun. And you're also invited to stick around and watch the races. It's usually $25 per person to get in. So this is a huge savings. We're going to have a special area for council members up in the tailgating area. They call it the ramp at CLS, where we're going to party. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you love the sound of cylinders, if you love seeing guys turn laps in anger, stretch the cables, it's a lot of fun. I really love dirt racing. I hope you will too. Feel free to join us. The big GL party, Cedar Lake Speedway, noon to whenever on Saturday, July 12th. Meanwhile, check out their website, cedarlakespeedway.com. Christopher?
Joe, and this portion, what would be John Haidt's newscast, is brought to us by our friends at North American Banking Company.
Wonderful. Rick in Stillwater wants to know, did we ever hear whether the idiotic ban on car keys or keys was removed by the legislature? The answer is yes. Mm-hmm. An exemption was made for our paint used by artists.
Yes.
And keys.
Correct.
So I know it was a great risk for me to guess that they came to their senses, but we looked it up.
Yeah.
The keys are safe, Rick. You can still have keys. All right.
You know who was...
Let's just pause.
Yep.
What just happened was so absurd. I could not have predicted it 20 years ago. That we actually come on the air and act relieved that we can still have keys.
Yeah.
Do you guys?
It's not unprecedented. We had to they came to their senses and finally allowed dealers like EcoFun and others to start selling mini bikes again.
Yeah,
because they were prohibited from being for sale because of the lead. Yep. And I don't know of any child who has eaten a battery terminal.
No, I never see that. And I had 4 kids.
And if they didn't, then nobody would.
Right.
They set the limit at tiki oil.
I mean, that kid drank tiki oil.
Yes, he did. So, do you want to know who was silently one of the big proponents of them banning keys here in the state of Minnesota?
That?
A certain hardware store owner that we may or may not have close ties to.
Okay.
Because as he put it, this is great. Everyone in the state's now going to have to upgrade to different locks for their houses.
Right.
I didn't think of it that way. Yeah.
He said, this is great. Ban it.
Come on down.
Well, now you're leading me to a really stupid question.
Okay.
Had this key ban gone into effect, what would a homeowner have to do? Have a keyless lock somehow?
Well, there are the remote entries that you can use. There's
I don't want that.
There's the touch.
That would have been something else to lose.
There's also the touchpad entries that are very common, but are very expensive to install in your home.
Mm-hmm.
And
so these keys had lead in them, but they didn't have any steel in them because I couldn't use a magnet to hide them. You realize that?
Where were you hiding them?
Well, where's the most obvious place to hide a key?
The rock
under
next
the
to the
flower
mailbox.
pot.
No, I'm surprised you didn't guess.
Under the floor mat.
The number one spot is inside the grill.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh. Well, you don't have a criminal mind.
I don't. You want a story of a nice high school graduation?
You bring
no shooting.
Where we didn't shoot anybody.
No shootings were involved by Somalis.
Sounds boring to me.
Random applause. No.
Mark writes, I had 2 sons enlist in the Navy in 2001 and 2017. In 2001, we went to the graduation at Great Lakes Naval Academy. Parked on a dirt road, sat in a dirty, non-air-conditioned building in August with the garage doors open, letting in what little breeze was coming off Lake Michigan. Seamen dropping like flies at attention in the heat. All were welcome. Then a month later, 9/11 happened and everything changed. When my youngest graduated boot camp in 2017, there was a brand new facility, large asphalt parking lot, and another very noticeable change. My son was allowed 3 attendees. Although 10 of us went and celebrated for roughly 4 hours after the ceremony, my wife and oldest son, who was in the Navy, attended the graduation on base along with me. They did live streams so others could watch at the hotel. The 3 of us had to fill out a form with ID before a specific date to get our passes. And getting to the base, we were greeted by heavily armed guards checking the IDs before we could get in. The facility was beautiful and air-conditioned, and the event was well-rehearsed. Chokes me up just thinking about it. Maybe this should be the way all graduations are conducted. Limited, pre-registered, ID checked at the door by Navy Master-at-Arms or U.S. Marines, 9mm standard and M16s optional, all from a secured parking facility. And he sent me a video. It was wonderful. Wonderful.
He is spot on. And I'll say this again. Here's the problem.
What do you got?
I attended one that was ticketed only, and the ruckus caused by the people that did not have a ticket was the main source of the problem at the high school graduation that I attended. They were still so emboldened, so entitled that they thought they could just walk in without a ticket.
How long was the ceremony?
It was pretty long.
Well, it should be noted that, to my knowledge, no shootings have occurred inside a graduation ceremony. They've all been exterior shootings.
God forbid. Yeah.
I think, aren't we pretty much done now with graduations?
We got to be getting close.
It's pretty much over, isn't it?
Oh, you mean the ceremonies?
The season.
Now it's the graduation parties.
That's not what I'm concerned about.
Okay.
I think you and I are a lot alike in this case, Joe, regarding weddings, graduations.
Doing me a favor, baby.
I use this as an excuse not to go. I am afraid for my own safety.
Yeah.
I cannot attend your graduation.
You know, I would come, but I was just reading about the gunfire. I
can't carry a firearm there, so I'm not going.
I can't
I can't protect
sit in
myself.
the truck.
Krista from I screwed it up again.
Western Maryland.
Yeah,
you got to, there's one of these.
I'm so partial to Eastern Maryland that I keep, because I love Annapolis, and I love the Eastern Shore, and I love
an allegiance.
Chesapeake Bay, and the whole,
What's not to like?
Got that whole nautical thing going.
That whole Eastern.
So you favor the East over the West?
No, I'm sure where Krista is gorgeous, and she wants us to know that none of us are ever going to see the cashews and peanuts from Reavers. He's been telling us for a week about all the wonderful flavors and how he likes them. Clearly, he has eaten all that was provided to him.
Yeah.
And so save yourself the time and call We Are Nuts people to place an order. Right?
Well, there's an ad coming up. Rookie was gifted.
But let me get to her point. She sent a picture of herself, too. Is she married? I wonder.
The hell is
Well, you are, so it doesn't matter.
All right, I was just curious.
I think, just checked, I think you're still married.
Yep.
Yeah.
At least for the rest of the day.
Yeah, she's ordering mulch.
Yeah. Boy, do we got a lot of that.
Krista, come on over and get some mulch.
Now on to the serious things, the shenanigans and ridiculousness that are happening in L.A. as we speak. You mentioned that a member of the NBC believes the activist was planning more events to include large cities throughout the summer. You alluded to that fact, and that you and many others are wondering why. I don't believe there is any credence to the notion that these activists are carrying out these protests because they are legitimately concerned about the problems associated with ICE carrying out new orders that the president has laid out for them. Granted, in the large crowds that have gathered, there are, no doubt, a few who want to continue their pursuit of the American dream, become naturalized citizens, and be productive parts of the community. But let's be realistic. The people I just described are probably at their jobs making minimum wage and doing everything they can to keep the attention, the police, and anyone from government away from them. They are not walking through the streets of L.A. with another country's flag, throwing bricks, stones, and Molotov cocktails at the police and service members. I would also proffer that outlets such as NBC are putting those articles in the paper and on TV because they are pleased with the unrest. I'm not a fan of our current president. I have spoken plainly about that. However, the last thing any of the national network news outlets want to see happen is for a peaceful protest to take place and no one get arrested, and the political classes agree on anything. They don't like Trump, and their only goal is to see him proven wrong repeatedly. They don't care about the consequences and the lasting impact that all of this will have on the country. You stated that 80% yawn and don't care about who runs the country. I'd like to believe that's untrue. I'd like to think that most of the country is like us. We want something different. We want common sense. We want stability. We vote every time we have the opportunity, but we continue to be unheard. Both parties are guilty of furthering their own agendas. That's true. The parties have disappointed us in who they've provided as candidates. The current government is no different than the one before and the one before that and the one before that and so on. Let me turn the page.
And so on.
And such.
Let's have faith that tomorrow is a better day. We're on the right side of the grass. We've got a good book to read, and we have friends and family that we love and that love us. And somewhere, you and I both know that the majority of people, as Neal Williams notes in Time of the Child, want to make good. We will prevail. Sending you a smile, literally by way of photo and well wishes, Krista. And see, she sent a nice photo of herself. So, yeah, she's right. She's right. Most of us, all we want is just common sense.
Along those lines.
Want things to make sense.
Yes.
Along those lines, can I share this with you from our good friend Linda Keller and Keller Tax Service?
Yes, we know Linda.
So I went to Costco without a membership. I snuck around the card readers. I didn't want to wait in line to get an actual membership or a one-day pass. They caught me in the store and asked me to leave or go to the service desk and get a membership.
Uh-oh.
Instead of leaving, I demanded free products and food and waved a Sam's Club flag in the middle of the store.
That's pretty good.
To show them just how much I love Costco and want to stay. When they still asked me to leave, I began stealing whatever I could and threw frozen hamburger patties at security. They should have just let me shop there without a membership. I was just here for the free samples, the oversized ketchup, and maybe a 40-pack of paper towels. But no, they enforced their rules like fascists. What happened to compassion? What happened to open warehouse borders? Costco, tear down this wall.
That's fantastic.
Linda Keller, you are brilliant.
That is fantastic.
That was good.
The nice touch she had was she was waving that Sam's Club's fan.
I'm here.
Flag. That is brilliant.
Frozen hamburger patties at them.
KellerTaxService.com. Let's give her a free plug for that fantastic email.
Well, see, the dark thought.
Oh, God.
I know.
Why?
Bringing us down.
I know. But the dark thought is, this is where this has to inevitably lead.
Oh, for sure.
And then the
It's the
stores
same
will be
mindset.
empty. The stores
Yes.
will be empty.
Well,
the shelves will
wait
be
a minute.
empty, and they won't be reopening.
Wait a minute. It already has, because you witnessed the crime happening in, what was it, a Walgreens?
Walgreens.
Yeah. And
Oh, the
that's
one on
happening
Grand.
all over the country. We see footage every day on social.
You know what I need, and I think there should be an app for this. I think I have $1 million idea.
What are you going to give away?
It's been
What are you
done.
gonna
I
give away that's
bet
already
this
been done?
hasn't been done.
What do you got?
I wonder if there's an app that would tell me the stores where I can shop without the merchandise being behind a locked cabinet.
That's actually very smart.
Yeah, it's in South Dakota. It's in Iowa. It's in North Dakota.
And outside of the 694, 494 loop.
Right.
Anywhere outside of the 7-county metro area.
I can't tell you how much I resent not being able to buy a bleeping toothbrush. I don't want to go find somebody that has to go through 400 keys on their belt.
What was
Let me buy a toothbrush. I am going to pay you.
What was the line from your guy? Like I'm buying a toothbrush in Kabul.
Yeah. Well, I had a buddy. It was in San Francisco.
Francisco.
I had an easier time buying a toothbrush in Hong Kong. He's trying to get one in Frisco.
Yeah.
Where people ride their bikes into the store, load the saddlebags with stuff, and ride out without being arrested.
As if it's a
nerve.
delivery service.
The nerve.
You know what you need? You need nuts.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, here's the
Which
deal.
nuts?
Which
D's.
D's?
No, actually, it's We Are. We Are nuts. I got news
I
for you,
was at
ladies and gentlemen.
Fratelloni's yesterday. I did not see any nuts.
Well, the end caps are coming. The first store is in Waconia that's getting the end caps. In fact, I was at a tour of the We Are Nuts facility, and they were shipping out the Waconia shipment as we were standing there.
On a big pallet.
Rook, do you know what the key is to going to a great tour for the We Are Nuts facility?
What?
Go to the right facility. See, I went to the old one. And that was
You
wrong.
went to one on Vandalia?
I did.
No, the original.
You dummy! It's over. So anyway, the new location is really cool, and so I got a sneak peek at their production line, how they package everything.
They
These
do it
guys are
right.
fantastic, and they're great people.
And I can tell you this. Don't ever leave a bag of Hokey Pokey popcorn with Gabe.
Or
he will devour it.
Or a 10-year-old baseball team, because I handed it to Leland. I said, hey, share this with your buddies. 3.5 seconds later, he came up and said, Dad, all this stuff is gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
So
Danger.
We are nuts, mn.com. That's the website. And I got to tell you, GLers, Father's Day is coming up. Forget the boring gifts. Forget all that other crap. Give Dad something he'll actually enjoy with We Are Nuts. Their quantity.
Plus, they're good for you.
They're good for you. Protein in a jar, Joe Souchere. You nailed it right there.
Savory wasabi.
Locally made, insanely fresh, and packed with flavor. Their premium nuts and mixed snacks are the perfect way to show Dad that he is the best.
Word.
Whether he loves cashews, and by the way, the jumbo cashews, I'm not joking. They're the size of shrimp.
The size of a small baby's foot.
Big nuts.
Whether it's the peanuts, the almonds, or a sweet and salty mix, We Are Nuts has it all. And you can purchase We Are Nuts jars for $2 off at all Lunds and Barley's locations. That's right. That's going on today, June 12th through Wednesday, June 25th. Lunds and Barley's carries We Are Nuts. Soon to come, Fratelloni's. Hardware and garden stores. It's the best, and this is going to be a great relationship, and I'm so excited. But visit their website as well.
There you go with the speed.
wearenutsmn.com. Tell them Joe Souchere sent you.
It's the end of the world as we know it, but he feels fine. Joe Souchere.
I love that bumper music. Really happy about that, and really happy to tell you
Let's
that.
do kill time.
Yeah.
This is an old broadcast ploy, folks.
25 past the hour here.
We know what's going
WCCO
on,
time.
don't we?
He doesn't care about that music at all.
No, I did have to pull up Maria's text to me about activities that we can do when those smart people that sign up at Escape With Us Vacations in September, the 3rd through the 7th, step back into time at Tombstone Monument Ranch and Cattle Company. It's going to be a blast. 4-night package includes round-trip airfare to Phoenix, comfortable round-trip motor coach, 4 nights accommodation at Tombstone Monument Ranch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner daily, 4 ranch activities. And some of the ranch activities, there's archery, there's a fast ride or a slow ride on the horse, cowboy breakfast at the Chuck Wagon on Saturday morning. Ooh. You're going to step back in time. It's going to be a complete blast. And there are very, very quaint. It's an actual replica of Tombstone in a historic dude ranch and the working cattle ranch as well. There's a saloon, the saloon. They have themed hotel rooms, a newspaper, a jail, a saloon. And all you have to do is get in touch with Escape With Us Vacations. My sisters, Teresa and Maria, do a wonderful job. I'll give you the phone number in a minute, escapewithusvacations.com. Also, a little teaser. There's going to be another Croatia yacht next September 2026. So mark your calendars and start saving your cash because it's going to be our 2024 trip was to die for. 651-788-4338. Step back into time, cowboy. I'm going to have my spurs and chaps. Y'all going there, schooler? Huh? 651-788-4338. And I want you out of town by sundown. You understand?
Are you going to be double guns?
Yeah. Double gunner. EscapeWithUsVacations.com. Joe.
Chuck Wagon.
Oh, the Chuck Wagon.
If I can buy that Suburban from our guy who works down the hall, that's what I'm calling that thing, the Chuck Wagon.
The Chuck Wagon?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Is he going to sell you?
This story was in the Pioneer Press.
Yeah.
In the Minneapolis paper. NPR has a print news site. It was on the TV websites. Typical headline was as follows. St. Paul School Board approves next $1 billion budget and explores referendum for shortfall.
Wait, you made a mistake there. You said billion, Joe. That you don't. No, come on.
$1 billion. And the point I wish to make is I wonder if anyone reading that story, and it's an annual story. They're always short. They never meet their budget, and they always want a referendum from the voters to give them more money. I wonder if anybody read that story and thought a couple of things. For example, $1 billion in St. Paul, where enrollment is just declining precipitously?
Right.
$1 billion? Do people ever wonder how much of that is for administrative costs?
I would love to know those numbers, but they won't tell you.
Look up, just for the hell of it, let's do some quick math, Reavers.
Okay.
How many students in St. Paul Public Schools?
Oh.
And then we're going to divide that into $1 billion, which I'm not capable of because I can't even order mulch without getting it wrong. So I think there's
32,316.
All right, now divide.
I have 33,589.
Just
so
round it off
go to
and make
33.
it round it off and make it easy to divide into $1 billion.
33 into $1 billion.
Yeah,
you got it, brah.
Yeah,
1 million.
No, billion.
How many? I can't do that. I don't know how many zeros.
I don't know.
1 billion. That's $1 million. We got to add 3 more.
Yep.
Divided by
9 zeros.
Divided by 33,000. Is that what we're going with?
Yeah.
All right. Is about 30,000.
All right. So that's about right. 30,000 a kid.
Woo.
Are you getting your money's worth?
God, no.
30 grand a kid. You can go to a pretty damn good
you can
private school for 30 grand.
You're talking Breck, Blake.
You just answered my question. That was my next question.
Does anybody look at these stories and they say to themselves, why do they always fall short on their budget? Why do they always have to go to the taxpayers? Businesses can't do this. Businesses can't be doing the wrong budget every year.
Right.
Well, I can answer it somewhat. I looked up today, spent more time than I should have, once again examining the 7 members of the St. Paul School Board. Not one of them has ever been in a business. Not one of them. Just as though, and they might be great people. They're willing to serve. They're serving their time, but they're from the activist class. And what possible experience can they bring to the financial end of running this? The answer is they can't.
They cannot.
There isn't any hope for this to ever get straightened out. Just as we have turned politics over to the activist class, we've turned school boards over to the activist class. They're activists, and they're not conservative activists. They're democratic socialist type activists. So, taxpayers are paying about 30 grand a year for a kid to go to the failing academies where they are proselytized for the most part. And the test scores, which I don't blame on teachers, you got to have some home influence. The test scores are lousy. The reading levels are lousy. The math level's lousy. And yet the price keeps going up and up and up. And does anybody, when they're reading the paper with their coffee in the morning, do you ever stop and you see the headline, St. Paul School Board approves next $1 billion budget? Because it was $1 billion last year. That's a lot of money.
So what I'm hearing you say is you really hate kids.
Yeah, I really do. and I just I'm done complaining about that because that's among the many areas where I never get anywhere.
How about
we're Minnesotans? We're not going to care.
How about if they take a page from public broadcasting and start begging the public for money?
They already do. The taxpayers have to pay for this.
No, I mean pledge drives, the way public TV and radio does.
Yeah.
Along the same lines, did you happen to see, I believe the one I witnessed was a KSTP investigative report on the University of Minnesota along the same lines. The tuition hikes are coming. And so they did a man on the street, I'm almost positive it was KSTP, talking to various students, grad students and whatever. Well, they have to do what they have to. These kids are so dumb. Not one of them gets what's really going on here because of the tuition hikes. Well, yeah, I understand. I don't want to have to pay more, but I guess, it's going to have to, right?
I feel.
Yeah, that's all it was.
I mean.
I know.
I mentioned this before, but Mr. John Ryan also notes that, Joe, it seems the current protesters have chosen Saturday, June 14th, as the day for nationwide demonstrations. June 14 is Flag Day in the United States. It commemorates the establishment of the national flag by the Continental Congress in 1777. June 14 was elected an official holiday by President Wilson in 1916. I intend to fly my United States flag on Saturday, here. But other people will be flying different flags. Linda Keller, for example, will be flying a Sam's Club flag.
Yes, at Costco.
And others will be flying Mexican flags and Palestinian flags, and many of us will attempt to fly the American flag. Why don't you take a brief time out so I can come back and tell you about this day in history?
You can, but first I need to tell you about our friends at Hoffer Water and Connecticut. It's the best water treatment system that money can buy. And I got to tell you, I'm so happy I made the switch. I've had Hofferman and Connecticut in 2 homes. That's how much I've loved my water because of Hofferman Water and Connecticut. Your first step, though, because they do get a little busy in the spring and the summer months, so your first step is you've got to get on that schedule and have them come out to give you that free water analysis. And you can do that one of 2 ways. You can go to HoffermanWater.com, which is the most convenient way. And when you go to HoffermanWater.com, you can see every single water treatment system that they have to offer. Or, Joe, you can give them a call directly at 612-895-2440. Either way, you're going to get on that schedule, and then they're going to give you this thing that's called a water score. And based upon that water score, they're going to give you recommendations and how they can upgrade the quality of your water. And it doesn't matter. You might be in the mood for a water softener, maybe an iron rust and odor filtration system, or a brand new drinking water system. But whatever you choose to go with, Hofferman Water is going to make everything better. So, HoffermanWater.com or 612-895-2440. Hofferman Water has been proudly serving the state of Minnesota for over 50 years. Please do me a favor and mention that you heard about them right here on the Garage Logic Podcast.
There you go.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores, sifting through the nuts and bolts of life. Joe Souchere.
Only because they come to us all the way from Eden Prairie, where the traveling Lymans are. We were busy on this day.
June 12th.
1905, visiting the Twin Cities for the dedication of the new capital, William Colville died in his sleep at the Old Soldiers' Home in Minneapolis the night before the ceremony at which he was to carry the battle flag of his regiment. Born in New York in 1830, Colonel Colville had led the 1st Minnesota's famous charge at Gettysburg. After the war, the Red Wing resident served as state attorney general. Why did that come before 1838, I wonder?
Because you probably put the papers out of order.
On this day...
Wait a minute. Didn't you say Civil War? 1838?
No, 1905 was the first one I read, was 1905. I'm just going to cut to one here.
Yeah, am I drunk? I must be drunk.
On this day,
I got to quit drinking in the morning.
June 12th.
In 1914, the last commercially cut logs passed through Stillwater's boom on the St. Croix, marking the end of large-scale logging in the St. Croix Valley. The boom was a chain of logs stretching across the river. Logs floated from upstream, each carrying their owner's brand. They were sorted and measured so that each logging company got credit for what it had cut.
I would do anything to be able to witness that scene in person.
Be pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
On this day,
on June 12th,
in 1946, the Minnesota Historical Society accepted a grant from the Weyerhaeuser family to establish the Forest Products History Foundation. Initially located in St. Paul, the foundation evolved into the international organization known as the Forest History Society. Now located in Durham, North Carolina, the Society's mission remained the same: to preserve and interpret the documents of forest and conservation history. On this day,
on June 12th,
in 2018, a raccoon caused a social media frenzy.
Oh, yes.
When it climbed St. Paul's USB skyscraper. Workers rescued the animal the following morning and released it into the wild.
They did? I thought it was up there for days. No, that's wrong.
Remind me of the year. Was it?
It was
18?
up there for days, and it crawled down on its own.
It was 2018.
Yeah.
It's not Tom Lyman's problem. This Day in History printed out funny, and I printed it exactly the way it was posted.
I remember when this craze happened because we were still on the radio, and we talked about it on the shows, and Patrick said, I'll handle it.
Yeah.
Remember people, one gal wanted people to remove the window on the high rise so they could grab this stupid raccoon, trash panda, and save its. God, I hate raccoons. Oh my! I don't think I hate anything more than I hate raccoons.
I love the term trash panda.
God, they make me just looking at. When I go by a dead one on the road, I go ha 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 ha.
And in Minnesota sports history on this day,
June 12th,
1997, after the legislature failed to approve a ballpark, the Major League Baseball gave the Pohlads the okay to sell the team or move, which, fortunately for all of us, did not happen.
So Kathy tweeted something this morning, Joe. It was on this date in 2012 when this little guy, looking surprised and confused, broke the internet. This is Feisty, the seal, who had swum out of his enclosure at the Duluth Zoo after the city experienced the worst flooding in history.
Well,
so we had two animal stories on this day in history?
On this day.
What happened to the seal?
On this day.
June 12th.
In 2012, a massive storm which continued into June 20 dropped over 7 inches of rain on Duluth and surrounding areas. 31 homes and businesses were damaged. Total damage estimated was set at $1 million. Floodwaters overwhelmed the Duluth Zoo, killing several animals and leading several others to escape. The swinging bridge in Jay Cook State Park was destroyed. So, yes, that was an item in this day in history I failed to read.
That's curious.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Thank you, GLers.
Yeah.
Please do us a favor, if you haven't done so already.
Yeah.
Join the thousands of subscribers on the Garage Logic YouTube channel.
Right.
Did you know that Garage Logic has a YouTube channel?
I did.
Is that sidekick in the can that you're hitting the button there?
Read that one again.
Yeah.
And you can watch the show live each and every single day, starting, right around noon.
Yeah.
Depends on when we all get settled in.
I know, right?
It's got full segments, video shorts. There's some behind-the-scenes footage, which may or may not lead to a stabbing with the heart and the pencil.
Yes.
And you can follow us along on all of our social media channels, which includes Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And what else? Oh, yeah. Subscribe for the Daily Logician. That's an email that comes right to your inbox each and every single day. And it includes the most recent episode of the podcast. Find it all online at garagelogic.com. Time once again to check in with our guy, Mr. Money Talk. Josh Arnold is with us once again right here in Garage Logic. And now is the time for you to do the same. So do not delay. Do exactly what I did and pick up that phone and dial 952-925-5608. That number once again is 952-925-5608. When you call that number, you're going to get Josh. And he is there for you for that free, yes, I use the word free, 48-minute financial consultation with absolutely zero obligation. And he will always give you the straight talk. He will never give you the sugar-coated advice. And he is on the line with us once again right here in Garage Logic. And boy, Josh, you know what? So much going on right now on the negative side with, Trump's tariffs and the Fed. They've had an impact on the macro level. But there's kind of a fun event going on this weekend with the U.S. Open this weekend in Pittsburgh, isn't there?
There certainly is. It's outside of Pittsburgh, beautiful golf course. I'm not sure that I'd be allowed to play on that. Chris, because you're a long hitter and you're a good guy, they'd probably bring you on as one of the top-ranked amateurs in the country, provided, of course, you qualified for the U.S. Open. And yes, there is a top amateur, a dentist, who hits it long, is better than a scratch golfer, qualified for the U.S. Open at Oakmont this weekend. Going to be a very interesting 4 days at the exclusive club outside of Pittsburgh. 5-inch rough, narrowed fairways, bunkers in landing spots, greens that are supposedly running faster than glass. All will be on display this weekend. And that could, and I say could, feature several different companies that could stand to benefit even tangentially. You've got Topgolf Callaway. Many of you have gone to the Topgolf ranges that are around the Twin Cities and around the country. They are pretty interesting and fun real estate developments that get many people interested in golf. And you can try out all kinds of Callaway clubs and Callaway golf balls there. The stock has been trending down for a while. One never knows. And it still has some potential for golfers, and it does fit within my leisure category. As you're aware, I focus on companies involved in the internet, leisure-related businesses, China-related businesses, real assets such as real estate, and we do a small amount of shorter-term trading. The asset allocation mix that I have used for years, and it has worked very well over time. I have to say over time because markets, as usual, do fluctuate both up and down. The asset allocation mix I use is keeping up to 30% in cash for both safety and to take advantage of opportunities as they present themselves. Because in any year, typically the market is going to have 3 to 4, 5 to 10% pullbacks. And during the pullbacks, it's good to have cash again, both for safety and for opportunity. And the balance, up to 70%, invested in primarily growth companies that fit into these 4 focus areas. So golf, such as Topgolf, would fit into the leisure category. Another golf stock, Acushnet, market symbol is GOLF, G-O-L-F. You might know them for their golf balls, Titleist, or their golf clubs. Titleist is all over the golf course at Oakmont. And then, of course, where do you buy your golf clubs? Well, you can buy many of the golf clubs online through the Callaway the Callaway website, the Titleist website. Thing is a private company, not a public company. But you can buy golf clubs through their websites. Or, of course, you can go to your local country club or other golf facility to acquire your clubs. Or you could go to the company that has more golf professionals working for them than any other place, and that's Dick's Sporting Goods. Dick's, of course, is a retail company, and they sell more than just golf equipment. But there are 3 stocks that you can look at and see how they might do or what kind of impact the U.S. Open has on those, at least on a short-term basis. But it's something to look at if you are big into golf. Why not put a little golf in your portfolio? Now, I could, of course, switch gears and say, let's take a look at how I can watch golf. And there I'd start looking at many of the media companies that could have golf-related programs on them, from Disney, of course, with ESPN. And Disney recently has been on fire as they completed a buy from Comcast of the entire Hulu operation. And that will give Disney another source of revenue and possibly more paying subscribers to offer their programs to, plus their news. And then there's favorite Apple with Apple Plus and Amazon with Amazon Prime, both of which are getting more and more involved with live sports entertainment. And sports entertainment tends to bring a lot of money in terms of ad dollars and, of course, viewership into the streamers and the networks. Have a great weekend. Be prepared, of course, for continued volatility around news related to the tariffs and the upcoming reconciliation bill and the hope for, at least on my part, passage of the tax bill, which will keep taxes low for everybody.
Excellent advice, as always, Mr. Money Talk. You heard him, GLers. Now is the time for you to pick up the phone and make the call for that free, yes, I use the word free, 48-minute financial consultation with absolutely zero obligation. And you do that just like I did by dialing 952-925-5608, where you always get straight talk and never, ever sugar-coated advice. Josh, once again, thank you so much for the time and the chat. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Stay dry.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser.